I do so many Zooms and I have so many different setups with interfaces and everything is plugged in correctly, but sometimes you just got to unplug and start over.
I totally understand. You know, what happens to me sometimes is I use my webcam, not with Zoom. And if you leave it on and start Zoom, Zoom can't find your webcam because it's already on something. It's already active, and it has to be
Yeah.
off for it to find it.
It's almost
So
like I got to start a test meeting before I do a meeting these days.
yeah,
Anyway, here we are.
and I've been to a bunch of Zoom meetings, but I've never hosted one. So thank you for allowing me to
Oh,
try
yeah,
this
yeah.
system out. I've never done this before.
Well, success on your end.
Uh, so I was, this is kind of funny. I was just on YouTube watching some of your YouTube videos. I just
Yeah.
watched your interview at Anderton's in
Yeah.
England, I guess.
Yeah, that was a couple years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was fun. Um, Talks about all your world tours and your gear and all that stuff. So yeah, so you guys are coming to Hood River.
Yeah.
What is this new band? What does it do? And what kind of music?
You know, um, this is my ploy to stay off of a plane. That was the original motivation because after 30 years of travel, I'm kind of over it. Wow, it looks like the connection is super unstable and I have screaming fiber connection. I don't know what the hell's going on today. Hopefully
It
we'll
looks
get through.
okay here.
Okay, it's freezing on my end. Um, so I decided I want to put a band together, and one of the reasons I I wanted to do it is I am connected to an agent, one of the biggest agents in the area. Because the thought of knocking on doors and starting where I started when I was 19 is not appealing. So you know, telling people that are working on a cappuccino that I worked with Michael Jackson, you worked with who? So yeah, I've been there. Damn, this keeps freezing. I don't know what's anyway. So actually, the agent had a singer in mind, and he's phenomenal. I'm lucky he said yes. He used to have a Journey tribute band years ago, and he's one of those guys that can really knock that stuff out of the park. So that was really motivating. I go, okay, this is gonna be a great band, and I did know some other players in town, and they all said yes. So we became a band, and I started thinking what tunes, and I haven't listened to the radio in a long ass time. I kind of went down the rabbit hole with Weather Report and Fusion in the 70s, and I was in a cover band in the 80s, and so that just seemed like what I should be doing. So we're doing 80s stuff. Um, like Journey and Foreigner, we do Owner of a Lonely Heart, that kind of stuff. And there's a gig coming up at the Oregon Gardens where they wanted some more rock stuff. And we do some Van Halen, and I thought, great. I'm happy to start adding more Van Halen. We're just working on Dr. Feelgood right now, Motley Crue.
Huh,
So, it's a young band. I imagine before too long we'll have several different kinds of sets that we can offer.
okay. And anything in the terms of your original music gonna appear in the
Well,
set?
no. My original music is instrumental, and they hire a cover band to not do instrumentals. Well, I say instrumentals, not originals. But
Mhm.
having said that, uh, we are going to do "Rolling in the Deep." I do that as an instrumental, and also "Girls Just Want to Have Fun." So I'm having fun with stuff and putting in what I can, the things I can get away with only because of my resume. So, for instance, in "Girls Just Want to Have Fun," we break it down in the middle and do Weather Report's Teen Town. you know
Huh,
so it's kind of wacky, and I think the longer we stay together, the wackier it's going to get, because that's one of the things that sets us apart. Instead of just like, here's a exact replica. And for the most part, I don't do the solos that are on the record unless I have a lot of respect for them. Like, we're not doing Beat It, but if we did do Beat It, I would do Eddie's solo, that kind of thing. But
Hmm.
because that's fun for me, is being able to improvise and being able to let loose a little. And it was actually the agent that encouraged me to start out one of the sets with just solo guitar. So it's not going to interrupt anybody's dancing. I can make a statement and have some fun. And
Get the sound worked out. And
yeah, and in
hmm.
the before times, I went wireless so I could go out with the audience and walk around playing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so trying to really add the whatever entertainment value we can, and also I'm really into steampunk, the steampunk visual genre. So
Okay.
that's where the name came from, Jennifer Batten and Full Steam, is to really bring that to life. So we got top hats and gold chain watches. Um,
Okay.
I have dressed the band up like a little bit Mad Max.
Nice. Well, Jackson Park is going to be a great place. It's going to be a nice summer evening. Uh, it's a great setting, great lawn. Uh, be nice to walk around with your guitar if you got wireless on. It's going to be fun. Good families in the park. That's good.
Great. Great. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, everybody is so itching to get out there and play again.
Yeah.
It's just having a few dates on the books is really encouraging.
Hmm. Yeah, I bet. So, yeah, just for some discussion stuff, I just wanted to get your thoughts on, uh, you've made a career out of this instrument, um, and what should people be doing now if they're interested in doing what you're doing? What kind of skills should they have besides being competent on their instruments? Uh, what kind of skills have evolved into this kind of career?
You know, uh, God, I mean, I think any musician, when you have a 30-year career, you go down all kinds of different rabbit holes. And I think it's just the best advice is to follow your muse. If you hate country and you love hardcore metal, you should probably not spend time on country. you know Although it really depends on what your goal is. If your goal is to be a working musician, as opposed to just, I want to be in a cool band and be a weekend warrior, then you really need to reach out into as many genres as you can, so you can get the call when the call comes up. There might not be a call for fusion for a couple of years, but there is a call for a different kind of genre. So dipping your toe into everything, I think, is important. But also, for being a working musician, making sure you got the basics covered. Can you play a chord scale? Can you play in harmonic minor? Can you do all these different foundational skills that will be required at some point? Guitar players are not known as great readers, um, but if you could at least read a chord chart, because
Hmm.
sometimes that will be thrown in front of you. And there's a great app that I lay on my students, uh, based on the real book from years ago, when you'll get a physical copy of the book. It's called iReal Pro.
Oh, sure.
And yeah, and so if you want to work on your chart playing, just playing chords through the charts, that it's an ideal way to go. And it's not only looking at chord names, but you can choose any key, any tempo, or any genre. Like, you could take Girl from Ipanema and turn it into a country song if you want to work on that groove. So
Hmm.
the tools are out there. I wish I had all those tools when I was coming up. Like, one of the things I teach in the symposium that I do is the Transcribe app, which is, it's the closest thing to having the master tracks for a tune that you can get, because you can push a button and get rid of all the bass frequencies. You can put it in karaoke mode and get rid of the vocals or lead, whatever
Hmm.
lead instrument, and really dig in there forensically and make sure that your parts are as accurate as they can be. Because that's something I've found universally. I mean, even in my own band, we just got together and we're doing yeah, it's some new song that we're learning, and three of us are supposed to play the same line at the same time, and there was three different choices of notes. I go,
Hmm.
guys, I mean, I'm super anal about it, so I go, here's what it is. You know, if you're playing fast enough, people might not notice, but to me, it's like that's the difference between a really lame or mediocre cover band and one that's really slamming. They
Hmm.
got it accurate, and the groove is accurate, and the tempo is accurate. So I think that kind of stuff is important. And having said that, I think most working musicians are in cover bands. You know, it's the 1% that are making a living doing their original stuff. I mean,
Hmm.
you making a decent living. You might be sleeping in a van and get $50 extra a week. I wouldn't call that making a living, you know. So covers will be part of your life if you're going to be in it for the long run.
Huh. Yeah, I can understand that. So I saw a couple of videos where uh, you talked about Les Paul being an influence, um, and you kind of praised, his a few of his inventions, like electric guitar and multi-track recording.
Mm.
Uh, do you think he ever imagined what kind of gear and recording options there are now for somebody at home when he started this?
Well, I don't think he could specifically see into the future, but I'm sure his mind was many levels beyond his inventions. I got a buddy now, Thomas Blug, who invented an amp. He worked for Hughes and Kettner for many years, but he's on that level where he's got scrapbooks like Da Vinci of things he wants to develop, and they're going to be years and years and years in the future because he's got to focus on one product at a time in order to make money.
Hmm.
But yeah, there's I'm sure he thought of all kinds of things that we've never heard about.
Uh, you recently just had an online guitar symposium. Uh, how did that go? And when did you start this uh, company?
Yeah, the last one was the best we've done. They keep getting better and better as we get more comfortable putting them on. Things are morphing and they're getting more streamlined. And I mean, my original concept for the format was from TED Talks, where
Okay.
you get these brilliant minds in every subject you could name that have to distill everything they know into a 20-minute chunk and make it entertaining. You know,
Hmm.
that is the gold standard to keep, because the number one goal of the symposium is to uh, have people leave inspired and learning things that they weren't aware of before. Like we had the Django class last time. I
Hmm.
was a little nervous about that because we're dipping into jazz for the first time, and I didn't know how that would go over. And by the end of the day, one of the students had already posted in the members only page a Django solo that Mundo, the teacher, Mundo Julerat,
Hmm.
had given them.
Hmm.
And so people are really enthusiastic and hungry. And it's, we get people from, God, 14 up into their 60s. And for the most part, it's going to be the younger ones that are wide open to learning anything.
Hmm.
It's not like the door has closed and this is the only kind of music I want to learn. So exposing them, and we're exposing ourselves to all this different stuff too. Uh, because as we monitor each other's modules, there's no way we could know it all. So we're getting pumped up and sent in new directions. And I know I'm going off the rails a little bit here, but there was something that happened to me when I went to guitar school and graduated in 1979.
Mm,
At that time, Musicians Institute was only guitars, and there was only 60 students. And there was, you know, there was two bebop guys and one fusion guy, and that was it for the teachers. And
mm,
I was wide open to jazz. I go, okay, I'll be the next Pat Martino. You know, that was my direction at the time, although it's gone, 1,000 miles in the other direction. But despite all the great education I got from that school, it was a fellow student that set me in the tapping direction. And that was because once a month we would get a seminar from different monster players like Pat Metheny, Larry Carlton, Lee Ritenour. They would come in and influence the hell out of us and just tell about their careers and thoughts on music.
mhm,
And one month it was Emmett Chapman who invented the Chapman stick. And that
mm,
instrument is not picked, it's 10 strings, it's all tapped. And this is before Eddie Van Halen popped. And so Steve Lynch, who was in my class, took the idea and started experimenting with tapping. And I thought it was the coolest thing I ever saw. And so, bam, that sent me on a whole new trajectory. And so that's part of what I hope that
mhm,
people will take away is like, wow, I didn't know that was possible, or I didn't understand how that was done. And I think there's something special about having an interactive situation like we do on Zoom, as opposed to here's a video, go learn my stuff, because you can ask questions and they can bring their guitars up to the camera and we go, no, that's not how we did it. you
mhm,
know
mhm,
so hopefully this thing has legs. So how it started was the pandemic. Like millions of musicians, all my tours were canceled, zero money coming in, and I'm going, well, this kind of sucks.
mhm,
And I had done a seminar tour 5 or 6 years earlier. I took my motorhome around the country, and I did like level one of what we ended up doing here. There were so many things that I wanted people to know. I put together a 4-hour seminar and toured colleges and all these different venues and almost every Sam Ash store in the country. And so that was the beginning. And then I got busy touring again and didn't look back. And all of a sudden, I'm thinking it's time to fire it up again, but I don't want to do it alone. I want to
mhm,
have, I had toured with Gretchen Mann and Neely Brosh months before the pandemic shut down. Um, and Vicky Genfan, I had done several tours with her. And it started out as a women's thing, but that wasn't my intent. Like, let's have a women's school. It's just, that's how it started. And got him on a Zoom meeting, like a weekly Zoom thing. And we just hashed it out, decided what we were going to teach, and launched in August. And I didn't have any money. I was hoping to use the social media presence of us all to get people in. And so that was the original people. And I also intended, this is the curriculum. This is going to be what happens every month. And then everybody started coming back for more, the same people, like every month. And
mm,
so we've been scrambling to keep up and give new information every time. And it's really challenging. But
mhm,
as we go along, we have more and more and more content, and we'll at some point begin to cycle it back around.
mm. Yeah, I thank you for letting me sit in uh,
Yeah.
for that day on the weekend the other week. Uh, yeah, I was really impressed with the variety. I thought it was all going to be based on the metal guitar tapping world, and it wasn't at all like that. I mean, it went into basic singer songwriter stuff, slide guitar, Django stuff. uh, you guys need to stick a bluegrass player in there.
I'm sure at some point it's going to happen. I'm open to everything. It's just part of it is trying to figure out what people want,
Hmm.
and I'm just throwing things at the wall right now. That's just how it is. It's a smorgasbord of styles for
Hmm.
sure.
Yeah.
In country, actually, I had a young country player I've been following on Facebook for several years, since he was about 15, 16. and he's one of these guys. Brent Mason, one of the best country pickers out there, number one hire in Nashville, says this is the next guy, and so does
Hmm.
Vince Gill, and just ridiculous chops. And I called him up. I've had several conversations with him, and he's never been on Zoom. And I'm like, boy, there are some basic things that have to happen. I mean, he's the youngest one I've gone for. Basically, all the instructors, I want them to have years of touring, years of recording, years of time on stage. I don't want any YouTube stars showing up that just don't have that experience. Except this guy is an exception. I'm very nervous about having him join us. He has taught, but I'm gonna have to do some coaching. But he's
Hmm.
got the chops, and as long as he's able to express himself, which that's a big deal. I mean, there's a lot of really great players out there that can't form a sentence. They play great, but teaching, forget about it.
Hmm.
So and that's the one thing I had confidence about the people I first got in as the core teachers. They all have courses that they've done. They've been doing it for years, and so I have not been controlling in any way until Greg Koch. And it's like he's one of the best players that we've had, and I know what he's capable of, so I'm kind of guiding him. Can you do a thing on tone because people would love it, and I know you do slide guitar, so he was totally open to it. And again, he's coming back in June, and I suggested. Actually, he picked chicken picking, so that's going to be the first chicken picking like country-esque thing that we have. Um,
Hmm.
I forget, and blues. I know he's great at blues, so I
Sure.
suggested that he do blues in part because our special guest in June is going to be Robin Ford.
Oh, wow.
And I know blues is hugely popular with guitar players
Hmm.
because you can do a whole career with one pentatonic scale. So you get an instant win, right? So it's exciting. It is not anything like I thought it was going to be, and probably a year from now I will say the same thing about this time.
Yeah. Well, it's a really a great guitar program, and congratulations on that. I mean, it's really nice.
Thanks. Yeah, and we're doing in a couple of weeks. We're doing the beginners boot camp, which in part is trying to get new faces because I know Sweetwater.com alone sold over 1,000 guitars every single day of the pandemic. Every
Wow.
day. So 30,000 guitars a month, and that doesn't include Guitar Center or any other online retailers.
I have an antidote to that. I actually saw a big box from Sweetwater in our cardboard dumpster outside here. And I'm
Yeah,
like, wow, somebody got a guitar,
right. Yeah.
you know.
Well, you got to figure there was a lot of good intention buying the stuff, and if people didn't have guidance, uh, I would venture to say that most of those guitars are going to be collecting dust.
Hmm.
So that's why we're reaching out to beginners right now.
Hmm. Hmm. So, so what percentage of Jennifer Batten's time is spent practicing nowadays?
Not enough. Not enough. Now I have a business, and I'm a fish out of water with the whole marketing thing.
Hmm.
It's been a real growth spurt and very difficult. Thankfully, I still get sessions, so I've got to actually I got to wrap up a couple things now. So I have things that are forcing me into music, doing it myself,
Hmm.
as well as our first date on the books with the band is July 9th. So we're actually doing virtual rehearsals.
Oh,
And, it's not something you can do over Zoom because there's such latency. People can't play together. But we're beta testing. The website is called realaudio.com.
oh.
And it involves a Raspberry Pi computer and an interface.
Hmm.
And it's not latency free, but it's close enough that we can get work done.
Oh.
Thankfully. Yeah, because it just doesn't make sense to, we've been holed up in our homes for so long now that to practice and risk our lives just because we have a gig is super stupid.
Hmm.
So it's going to be virtual. I think a couple days before the first show, we're going to do a showcase just so we can actually play together with no latency and get our sea legs back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I just wanted to keep this to a half an hour, and I appreciate your time. And it's great learning about the new band. And you guys are going to give, I think they booked Hit Machine for one of the shows. Are you
Hmm.
familiar with Hit Machine?
Yeah, I played with them a couple times. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Give them a run for their money.
Yeah, yeah, they're good. It should be fun.
Yeah. And glad you guys got added to the bill. And I know that there's a lot of guitar players around here. Hood River has always been a good music community for a long time.
Yeah.
So there will be people interested in what you're going to do and
Great.
um, what you're going to play.
Well, hopefully we'll pull a crowd. It is a new band. We only played, gosh, I want to say less than a year before the pandemic happened.
Sure.
So we were starting to build a following and then nothing. So hopefully people won't forget about us and we'll just start growing this year.
Yeah. Say, can you go ahead and mention who else is in the band? Is that?
Oh, of course. Yeah, yeah. Pat Yadon, Yadon, is the singer. He's phenomenal.
Okay.
In fact, he was one of the contestants on American Idol at one point. I don't know what year, but he's really good. Norm Whitehurst is the drummer. He's also had a band around the area for years called the Dumb Waiters, and yeah, and I think he still does some playing with them. Kevin Burkhart has been in the area for many years, keyboards, and he's one of those absolute tech nerds that will do everything in his power to get the sounds that were on the record, which is super important, especially with 80s stuff. You
Sure.
gotta have the sound or it's just not gonna cut it. And that's another thing about some mediocre bands. I'll hear the tune and go, "You didn't even try to get the sound, dude." You know? So he's got like a control center like NASA that he works on. Who am I? Ben Jones on bass. He's been in the area forever. He's played with everybody. I mean, he's like a Portland staple.
Okay. Well, great.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm glad you asked that. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, good. Okay, Jennifer, thank you very much. Thanks for your time. Thanks for all your information on your guitar symposium and your history and all that. And just pretend this stage is like the Super Bowl stage, and you'll be fine.
Well, at this point, we're happy to play anywhere. I mean, I had 3 gigs last year, and the first one was it was outdoors under a tent at a church slash winery, and it was 25 people max, and it felt like an exorcism just getting to play. Uh, it was the people that were there, full on to just connect. So it was wonderful.
Yeah.
So what do you know when the article will come out?
I would think I would want to run it like 2 or 3 weeks before the gig.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. Well,
and I'll send you a link when it goes up.
You might want to do some updates and let's see. Just go to the Guitar Cloud Symposium website because then you'll see the gigs that are right around the corner.
Okay.
So if our thing is in July, I think the next thing would be we're doing a Guitar Heroes deep dive with Jeff Beck, Satriani, actually Charlie Christian. That's the odd man out, and Eddie Van Halen. So that should be a popular one.
Oh, nice.
Yep. And then August, that's not on the website yet, but will be in the next couple of weeks. It's a full-on singer-songwriter thing that Vicky is going to lead. And I got one guy named Jeff Paris, who's I've known when I was in LA. He's had over 100 songs placed and got BMI awards, wrote Crying for Vixen. So there's gonna, I think that'll be a really popular one because so many people are songwriters. They're not so much into deep into guitar, but they want to write songs, which is
Hmm.
smart. It's way smarter.
Right. Oh,
So there you
good.
go. All
Great.
right. Okay. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a great day.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.
Take care.